The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual guests.
What is going on, my Ghost Squad? Welcome to the Armed Citizen Podcast Live. This is episode number 321. We are live on YouTube, streaming to over 150 countries worldwide. If you're here in the live chat, go ahead and say something. We don't know that you're out there if you do. For those that are watching this to replay, but most of you listening to this in podcast form, the conversation does not have to end right now. Go ahead and utilize that comment section below. Let us know what your thoughts. Tell us how crappy we are. All that stuff. We would love to hear you on our podcast and give us a nice rating and a follow and all of that, share, all that stuff. But honestly, we really like to invite you to the live show, which is we're recording live right now. This is where all the fun interaction with the audience is, especially when we bring on guests like we have tonight. It's a great way to interact with those guests right here and live. Needless to say, if you'd like to text into the show, yes, you can text into the show. Utilize the Ghost Tactical Hotline presented by our good friends Rod and Shelly Gates at Aegis Gun Care. That phone number is 530-364-4678. And go check out aegisguncare.com. If you're a veteran, really anybody, but especially if you're a veteran and you're in that hole, you're in the darkness and you're looking for that light, call me, text me, email me 24/7. I cannot give you medical advice, but I could probably be a pretty decent ear, maybe talk you through some stuff. More importantly, I can just listen if that's what you need. If you are looking to get some medical attention, remember two things. One, you are not alone in this fight. You have a lot of brothers out here that are willing and able to help you in any way possible. And two, the world is a much better place with you in it. So please utilize the Veteran Crisis Hotline, 1-800-273-8255. Once again, 1-800-273-8255, the Veteran Crisis Hotline. Now, you guys know that in the last month or so, I have not been touting the Veteran Crisis Hotline for a specific reason that a friend tried to reach out to them that was having a dark day and called them twice within an 8-hour period. And they didn't answer, and they never returned his call. So in a situation where most of you guys don't understand that what it takes, what kind of a mindset it takes for someone to break down and call that crisis hotline and then to have no one answer or call them back really pissed me off, let's be honest. So I haven't been touting that. I did have a conversation with someone with them, and we'll just say that they're going through how do I put this? Some employment problems, getting volunteers to answer the phone and all of that. So if you're interested, I know that they're looking. So if you're interested in helping some people out there and want to answer some phones and all that, then God knows that they'll need all the help they can get. Anyways, I digress. We are spotlighting, as always, the United States Marine Corps. If you have any questions on what it takes to earn the title United States Marine, see the website marines.com. And as always, we're a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. Go check out all of your favorite pro-gun, pro-toy podcasts over at selfdefenseradio.net. Let's get this off and bring in our guest. You guys know that Marines are special breeds, and we like to tell people that. We're special for many, many reasons. That said, we do like to talk shit about other people, other branches, but I think everyone also understands that we can and they can, but if you didn't take the oath, then you probably shouldn't. Just saying. The only way to get all four armed forces against you really quickly is to talk shit if you never raise the right hand. That said, one person or one type of person that you will never, to my knowledge, especially if you worked with them, that you will never hear a Marine talk shit about are corpsmen. And I've made that abundantly clear throughout the years. Guys that have listened to the Jarhead podcast and all that know that corpsmen have a special place in Marines' hearts, my heart, and all that. We are fortunate enough to be joined by Nathan Mitchell, who is not only a corpsman, a former corpsman, but he's also the owner of Mitchell Defense. And we will talk a little bit about his rifles and his guns here in a second. But I want to bring Nathan in real quick and Kyle out there. He's with Anderson, a good friend of Anderson Manufacturing. He's a Marine. He says, "Don't mess with Doc. You don't mess with Doc." So what's up, Doc? How are you?
I'm good. That's a great intro.
I'm a good hype man. I am for sale. If you need me a shot, I can come hype you up at the booth.
Yeah, stand out in front, just bring people in. It'd be fun.
Well, people might run, but yeah, we'll try. We'll try.
Yeah. No, it's whenever you start bringing up the corpsman stuff though at SHOT Show, people start asking you medical questions, and it's like, look, man.
I'm sure.
I'm on the opposite end of this.
It's so funny that so we'll get into all the good stuff and all that. Did you ever think about doing a business when you started thinking about business? Did like medical gear, like trauma kits and IFACs and all that, did that ever cross your mind? Or when you got out of the Navy, you're like, I'm done with that shit. Like, I want to get as far away from that as I can.
No, so it definitely was a thought. I think more closer to like becoming like a PA, actually going and like continuing to do medicine.
Yeah.
That kind of, I got accepted into PA school, all that fun stuff. But then you start thinking about it. It's probably going to be working nights at a level 1 trauma center or something. And you're going to be dealing with like a bunch of like runny noses. And like, I want trauma. Like I want to deal with like hardcore trauma. Like I want gunshots. If they're not going to die, I don't want to see them.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoyed about medicine. I just think the civilian side, it wasn't really going to work. But then like medical gear side of it, I've had many conversations with a lot of the guys being like, hey, let's create a new bag or like some kind of like a med kit. And it's like, in the conversation always happens. It's like, okay, well, like, do people actually really know how to use it? Like, are we going to like put together a med kit and a med package that's going to get
that we would use and understand what every little component's used for and all that? That's something all the time. If there are some people that just aren't comfortable carrying a gun on a daily basis. I get that. I wish they would, but I also understand. I've also said that if you're not comfortable in taking that shot, that I wish you don't carry, because you could be more dangerous. That said, there are ways to be part of that scenario and going to take a stop the bleed. Yes, go take your basic first aid course, go take your CPR, but taking a trauma class, stop the bleed, how to use a tourniquet, how to use gauze, how to use bandages, how to use an Israeli bandage. All these different things that can help. We carry guns because, when seconds count, the police are minutes away. That's the same thing with EMTs. When second count, the ambulance is a few minutes away. So there always needs to be someone with medical training. Real quick before we go, mandatory carry out there. We do want to thank you. He said $5 super chat. Not actually going to be Langley. Let's blame Squatch anyways. I'm here to keep fighting. Appreciate you. So you guys know that we don't ask, nor do we encourage super chats, but especially this time of year, we do want to say this. Everyone knows that watches this live that all of the money raised through super chat goes to pay for care packages that we'll send downrange to our guys and gals downrange right now. And Nathan, I'm sure that you understand this. We've both been overseas for holidays and all that. And when I want to say that it sucks, they make it as fun as they can. You can actually have a pretty good time overseas during Christmas and all that, but you're not with your family and all of that. You're with your other family. And so I people say, oh, it must suck. And actually it's pretty fun. They do everything they can to take care of us. You actually probably have more fun than if you were with your actual family. Let's be honest. But do you have any like crazy, weird, like Thanksgiving or Christmas stories when you were maybe overseas somewhere that you want to talk about? We should say. Yeah.
No, the only time I think I was even overseas during the holidays is whenever I was in Japan, actually.
Yeah. Where are you at?
Yokosuka.
Okay. Yeah, I was over in Okinawa.
Yeah, I think I got back from Yokosuka, and then they were asking if I wanted to go to Oki, and I was like, absolutely not. I will go anywhere else but there. But I kind of wish I would have gone back. I kind of enjoyed it. Like now that I'm older and I look back at it, but no holidays. But you're talking about like the care packages and stuff. We used to get those all the time on the ships.
It's pretty nice, man.
It is, but it was really funny because like you put the box out, like, and everyone would kind of like dive into it.
Just rate
like,
it, yeah.
Everyone had their thing that they got. Mine was
Slim
like this little bitty short.
Jim.
They'd always come with 2, and like that was the one thing I had to get every single package.
Yeah, so and you'll understand why when I say this. And a lot of guys were back in the day, but I'm still. But back then I was a big gummy bear guy for multiple reasons. But they're real easy to take with you when you go outside the wire, and they don't smell and they don't attract animals or anything when you're outside. So I was always looking for that. And it's so funny that people don't know how serious it is. What's the first thing that always goes? If they're there, the first thing always goes are socks. I don't know why, but if they're in the box, they were always the first things because you guys always told us, and everyone above us, change your socks. Don't, if you don't shower, you're gone wherever. Change socks. And it was almost religiously, you guys, hey, make sure you take your socks. And Kyle says, take your Motrin, drink water, change your socks. And that was just over and over and over and over ingrained in our heads. So when boxes showed up, if there was a pair of socks, they were the first things gone.
Oh yeah. Change your socks and drink some water. That's
drink some water and Motrin. Or back in my day, it was Tylenol. That's before they kind of said that Tylenol was bad for you, I guess. I don't know.
Motrin started sponsoring the government. I don't know.
Could be.
It's even like today. I remember like sitting in classes and stuff, like being tired and being like, "Well, just drink some water." And then you drink water, and somehow you'd wake up. Like I was just like, "How does this work?"
There's nothing in this that's supposed to keep you awake. Like nothing at all.
No.
But it works. It works.
I always have my water on me.
Yep. Before we go into the Mitchell defense and all that, I kind of want to give you a second because I think people might be interested in the corpsman life. And if you guys don't know what a corpsman is, they're Navy medics that are basically attached to Marine units, and they're us. They train with us. They carry the rifle. They deploy with us. Like they're with us. Do they do their own schooling? They have their own commands sometimes. Yeah, but when we go, like they're here. They're us. They are de facto Marines, and that's why you'll never ever hear a Marine talk smack about a corpsman because they are us. When you joined the Navy, did you want to be a corpsman, or what did you go into the Navy as before you went to the school?
This is probably the first time I'm ever actually talking about my military background.
If you don't want to, we don't have to. A lot of my channel are military people, so they like.
No, so I joined the Navy. So Red Lone Survivor, wanted to be a Navy SEAL.
Absolutely. Have you met Marcus yet?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
We're connected in a lot of the same worlds, but we haven't met yet.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. So I actually went to Buds. That was my first thing I did whenever I left and went to Buds.
Now, did you have a contract to go straight to Buds?
Yep,
oh, nice. Okay. Nice.
Yep. That was whenever they had the. I think they still have it. I can't remember what it's called. There's pre-Buds. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
But they had a bunch of trainers. I mean, our swim coach was a bronze or silver Olympic medal swimmer. And yeah, I mean, and our running coach was a sub 2 hour marathon girl. I mean, and our weightlifting coach was I think they got him from Ohio State or something. I can't remember where he came from. So we had just top of the line instructors and trying to get us in shape, and they're trying to weed out the people failing out from injuries, and that was their main goal. Because a lot of good guys wash out from injuries at Buds.
That's what I hear from a lot of my friends that are team guys, that there's a lot of people that they know would have made good SEALs had they not gotten washed out because of injuries. And it was one of those things, yeah, they can set you up and freeze you until the next class comes through. But there's some of these guys that just have injuries that they're just probably not able to continue on. And even though they had the right mentality, they're just, something happened where they washed out because they got hurt. And that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yeah, no, and recon was the same way. Whenever I went
Yep.
through that pipeline, I mean, we were losing guys. Like we lost a lot of guys to injuries. But yeah, so I went to Buds. So ended up getting rolled, and I dropped in the beginning of first phase. I was like 19 years old, and like
Yeah.
I just had no experience in the world. And I
And
always
then it
laughed.
all hits you right at once.
So and it was like the funny thing about that was like it wasn't the physical that hurt me. It wasn't it was the we were on a swim. It was, I don't know if you guys ever been like San Diego, like in the Bay. You're like swimming down the beach. You're swimming against.
I actually got married at Coronado Island. So
Okay, yeah, you're very familiar with that area.
I am, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yes, we had the swim that we were in that I quit on. Like we were like going against the current, and my swim partner wasn't putting out. And like I'm not like blaming it on him. It was
I get it.
And so we made the turn. I mean, this is like a 2-hour swim that like we were 2 hours at the turnaround point. Like that's how bad the current was. And on the way back, like there's just this weird thing that I have, and I had it at recon. I had it every time I've ever been in a wetsuit. I cannot pee in the water in a wetsuit.
I get it. No, I get it.
I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and I was sitting there like looking at it, trying to head backwards. And then I just remember sitting there thinking, there's all these rumors that you get 2 weeks of leave if you quit, like all these things. And I was like, I just want to get back to like back hometown. My ex-girlfriend's back in town. Like if I could get some like 2 weeks of leave right now, this would be great. And I just quit. It was like one of those moments you're like, ooh, what did I just do? But
so let me ask you this. How hard is it to ring the bell? Like, is that mentally, is that one of those things that you're fighting yourself all the way until you ring the bell, or is it you knew I was done?
Hey, you do. It was like a very
like pride thing. Moment. It's kind of a pride thing, I guess.
I don't even know if it's a pride thing. I think usually you're like in shock at that point.
Yeah.
In that point, and I mean you're pretty tired too. But I mean, I think I went up to like ring the bell. Like you're supposed to like ring it 3 times, and I think I was just like, I think I rang it like
ring,
ding, 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 ding.
like the hell with this, man.
Yeah, I'm not ringing this the right way. Yeah. So like after you get done with that, you head off to what is the Navy base? It's like North Base or something like that, North Shore or something.
Is it North Point?
Something like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
The Navy base on Coronado.
Yeah.
Like the main base.
Yeah.
So you head over there, and like you're on like hold for a little while you like class up to do like for your jobs. And I think like 80% of the guys who dropped from my class all went undesignated. You know, that's like one of those like at the moment, yeah. I mean, it's probably the right reaction. I couldn't tell you the life lessons that I learned from that have like folded over into
that. Probably, like, I never thought of that, but yeah, for you guys that don't understand, is if you go into any of the branch, whether it's undesignated or open contract, what we call it in the Marine Corps, basically, you're at the mercy of whatever branch that you're entering, and they'll kind of tell you what you're going to do. And so I tell people, unless you just have a weird sadistic sense of humor, make sure that you get what you want to get in your contract, and which you did. You got buds in your contract, but going open designated or open contract, you don't know what you're gonna do until they tell you where you're gonna go. So that's interesting.
It was, I mean, I was on des for 2 years.
Really?
Oh yeah. They kept trying to push me into like really bad jobs that I didn't want to do. Like, the ones like them, they're like, oh, you need to be a cook. I'm like, I'm not going to be a cook. Like there is a place for people that can do that. That was just not who I was.
Yeah.
No. So I actually, going undez was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. Because one, I mean, I was like a scared kid. I mean, I was 19, literally zero life experience.
That's the way I was when I went in the Marine Corps, 19 years old, and grew up in suburbia Dallas with no idea that what life was like, you know?
The world was actually a terrible place.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like, so I went to, that was my first duty station was in Yokosuka, Japan. And
Yeah.
so like going from like never like leaving the country to like living in Japan, but like being undead, like you get like the textbook Navy experience. I mean, you drive the ship, which is like why they let me drive the ship. I just don't understand. I was very good at it, but like, you know, and then we also got to paint the ship. And like that was like our corrosion control. Like you learn a lot. I mean, especially like being translated over to the firearm space, like corrosion control is like a real thing in firearms.
100%.
And like coatings and the way you apply things. But yeah, yeah, so that was cool. And like the ship that I was on was the USS Blue Ridge. And if anyone's ever heard of the USS Blue Ridge, it is the dream duty station. If you ever have a chance and you're in the Navy, go to the Blue Ridge. It is the Admiral's cruise ship. We literally went from port to port. I mean, it's an old ship. I mean, the thing was falling apart. I mean, it was supposed to be decommissioned in like early 2000, and they like extended it by like 20 years. So,
oh wow,
the boat's old. There's no other ship that's like it in the U.S. Navy. But yes, I mean, our underways would be like 2 days to like the Philippines, and then we'd have another 2 days underway to Cambodia. I mean, it was like over to Korea. I mean, I think I went to like 12 different countries over there, including Australia.
Yeah.
So I had a blast. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Had a lot of growing up, which is great.
Yeah, I was on. We came back from somewhere, and flew into Korea. We're there for a few days, and then we caught a boat from Korea back over to Okinawa a couple days on the USS Bella Wood. And I had never been on a boat on a naval vessel before. Been boats all the time growing up, but not on a ship. And I thought, well, this is a big, in my eyes, it was huge. Now, in the grand scheme of things, that LST is not a very big boat. But I'm like, okay, this is gonna be fun. My experience and all that. And I'm 19 at this time. Needless to say, those few days were of the worst of my life. Luckily, as you guys know, when we're catching a ride, we really have no responsibilities. We might have to pick up maybe some security, fire watch or something, but there's really no responsibilities that we hold on that boat because we're just catching a ride. Yeah. And I was sicker. I've never been more sick than I was on that boat. And seasickness is a thing, and there is nothing you can do about it. And the great thing is half of our platoon got pretty sick, and they're mostly younger guys that had never been on a ship before. So we didn't know to take. There was this thing that you could take that was a Dramamine or whatever. We didn't understand that there was this thing that you could take, and the older enlisted guys and the officers were not going to tell us about this. So they just let us go, and it was bad. It was bad. It was so bad that even like the squid, the Navy guys, we call them the squids. I'm not you. I'll never call you a squid, but we call the Navy guys. Even the squids were just like laughing at us. And that's probably the most demoralizing thing in the world is you got these Navy guys just laughing at us. And we're just like, yeah, that was the worst experience. And it's only a few days. It's not like it's a 2-week trip. It's just, but it felt like a month. It was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. And
oh yeah,
so it was bad.
The first time I ever got seasick, and there was our first like underway. Like I think we were like in the South China Sea or something. And it gets pretty rough out there. Some huge waves, which is like really cool to see. And like driving the ship in those massive waves, so fun.
So you see like these big tankers and all that go through these huge waves. Obviously, it's not fun, but is it like an adrenaline rush?
It's not like so. What's unique about being on a Navy ship, like kind of what you're talking about, is like if you're on a boat and you're seasick, they tell you like to get up top, to get fresh air. You can't do that on a Navy boat. There's no windows. There's nowhere to look out. Like you're in this tin can that's moving. But what was so
cool by the way, you're stacked up like 4 high in your bunk beds, so it's and you're there with 4 other people that are just having the same sickness. It was bad. It was bad.
Oh yeah, no, and people are just puking everywhere. I mean, that was kind of like when the waves would get rough, we just kind of shut down, especially in that first underway. because all the new guys would get sick, and you're like having to take care of them. And like when I was working on medical on the ship, that was always like the go time. It was so fun because like you get so used to it, and then like having to carry people up on stretchers and like you're throwing IVs in when the ship's moving. It was about as close to trauma as you could get, I guess, on a ship.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Sure.
But yeah, no, it's like, and then driving the ship, it was kind of like an adrenaline rush because like you really had to pay attention to the waves and stuff. And it was like you would hit like those waves, and then like your front end, like you'd hit one and you'd feel it, when that like that nose is about to dive into it, and then all of a sudden you see that water just shoot up and hit the bridge, and you're just like, this is so cool.
So like when you say like you drove the boat, like you were literally like,
oh yeah, I was the helm. Like and we still had an old brass wheel. I mean, and it was
really,
still, like,
that's kind of cool.
Throwing it left, throwing it right, and like holding it on to. Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
That's interesting. So you go open, undesignated. I always call it open contract, but undesignated. You go and drive the boat for a little bit. How did? When I say med school, it's not medical school, be a doctor like in the civilian world, but we called it med school for you guys. I don't know what you guys called it. Core school. Okay. So how did that come about? And like, what took you down that road to say, you know what, like a corpsman might be one of those things that I want to do. And how did that decision happen? So, or was it made for you almost? I don't know.
Yeah, so they were trying to force us into like bad jobs, and I was kind of holding out for one that I actually wanted to come open. And I was really good friends with the corpsmen that were on the ship. And I'd spend some time up there and hang out with those guys. And then the Marines would come on board, and we get their docs would come up. And it was always cool, like talking to those guys. So whenever like it's HM is like the rating, whenever that opened up, I took that. And I was always trying to find a way to get back into like, and I think I can't remember if I knew about the recon pipeline before that or not, but so whenever that job opened up, you just like you put in your package for it, and so I put in the package for it, and then as soon as it got accepted, I got get to go OJT at medical, and so I think I was OJT at medical for like 7 or 8 months, which like that was just fun. I got to do like a corpsman's job without having to go to corps school.
That's interesting. So that's interesting. So in the Navy, are corpsmen looked at differently from the other sailors? Like when you're on ship or whatever. I mean, is there a weirdness, or are y'all how are y'all perceived from the regular Navy guys? Because you're not with the fleet much, are you?
For like corpsmen?
Yeah.
So I mean, there's always corpsmen that are attached to a ship. Not all corpsmen are with the Marines.
Okay.
But I think I like heard of statistics. It's like 60 or it's a vast majority of corpsmen aren't on boats. But like when you're on a ship, the way you're viewed, there's really 2 jobs on a ship that are the most important jobs on a ship as far as like personnel. Well, 3. There's personnel department who makes your pay, which they're pretty important.
That's very important. Sure. Yeah.
There's the culinary specialists, which are the cooks. And that's because you can get extra food from those guys. So you trade favors. And then medical, which you can get, you trade favors at medical. Medical can get you out of so many things.
Yeah.
And those are like the 2. So everyone loved like the docs at medical. Cause I mean, they're the guys who are like doing your shot records. They're taking care of you.
Yeah. I remember.
We also had some crazy stories that happened out of that.
Oh, I can imagine. We would always go. So where our office was, our shop, we had a big warehouse. We had all of our gear and all that stuff. Big building. In our building was where the sick bay was, and where the corpsmen would hang out and all of that, with the docs and medical staff. And usually on Thursday afternoons, we would always try to go over to there and see if we could, get something to say that we didn't have to go to work on Friday, so that we'd have, a 3-day weekend. And obviously that wasn't the first time that they had heard all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're fine. Go take some Tylenol. You'll be fine. I'm like, oh, come on, man. He's like, yeah, no. I mean, I really don't want to go do this hump. You're not getting light duty for that. Just come on. Just do your thing. So everyone was always trying to get over in the docks, but we also knew that they had us. They had everything that we needed. They had that as a priority. So like I said, you'll never hear many people talking bad about the docks, but
hey, there's some bad docks out there.
I never ran into any. So I'm sure obviously there's bad everything, right?
Oh, for sure.
But I never had a bad experience. I had knee surgeries. I had some injuries, different things, and always like my daughter was born at the Naval Hospital at Camp Pendleton out in California.
Yeah.
By the way, it cost me like $8 to have my daughter. It was great back in the 90s,
Good times.
But there was a big naval base down in Okinawa that we had to go get before we went somewhere. We had to go get checked out. And I'm sure that you probably had to go through the long line of the old air gun needle shots or whatever. You like 27 different things when you're going somewhere.
Car wash shots.
And it's so funny because I got out in 98 and knock on wood, but like I've never really been sick. Since some of the places that we went, we had to take like 27 different shots to some places we went.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what you guys or what are in those shots, but technically I've really never really been sick since I got out. So thank you for whatever they
probably
gave me.
Didn't know that most of those were experimental. So
oh yeah. Oh, I'm sure they were. Which makes a lot of sense, but you know what, like I said, for the last 25 years I haven't really been sick, so I'm okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I digress. So you go to Corps school, and then like you said, you hear about the recon pipeline and thought, well, that sounds fun. It's kind of going through another buds, if you will, maybe a little bit different and all that in our own little special way that we have fun doing schools in the Marine Corps. How was that for you?
Going through the recon pipeline?
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was awesome. So at Corps school, there's like a pre-screening process. And there was two guys that were there. Won't say their names, but they were just legends in the industry or in the community. They just some of the stories that came out of that, you're just like, how? I mean, like one of the guys still had like rounds in his foot that he like from getting shot. And, like every time he'd run, his foot would go numb. And you're just like, how do you complain with the guy whose foot is numb because he has AK rounds in his foot?
Right.
So that was cool. And then we had a good group. So they messed up my orders and two other guys. And we ended up going to jump school right out of Corps school before we even went to recon.
Where'd you go to jump school?
Airborne over in Benning.
Okay. Benning. Yeah.
Now.
Okay.
And so we're some of the few guys who actually went to airborne school in blue digis.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So we were running around in our steel toe boots and blue digis.
How'd that go for you?
It was good. No one knew what to make of us. I guess there'd been a couple of EOD guys that had gone through before us.
Oh, okay.
So the Marines didn't know what to take of us. They're like, oh, you guys are recon guys. We're like, well, we actually haven't gone to BRC yet. And they're like, why are you here?
Why? Yeah.
What do you mean?
Usually the normal progression is not that,
Yeah, well, you have to go through.
There's a sequence. Yeah.
You have to go through your selection course to make sure that you're going to make it into you're worth putting forward like the money to do this. But
yeah, they're not going to waste money on you, especially at jump school, which is
airborne.
I got plenty of stories about that, but go ahead. Yeah.
Airborne. That was the funniest course I've ever gone through. It was a fun course. Don't get me wrong, but like it was stupidly dangerous and just goofy. It's theatrical. It was just funny. So yeah, went through airborne. Then we have to go through spending
the first week or so jumping off of benches and all sorts of fun stuff. It's interesting.
You spend 2 weeks learning how to fall down.
Fall down before you
And then
which later on you're like, thank you for that, by the way,
Oh yeah. Well, and then you just watch everyone hit the ground and no one actually does the PLF, parachute landing fall.
Yep.
Yeah, airborne.
Wow.
And I remember. So me and my buddies, we still joke about this today. He owns a company out in the industry too. But whenever we like, so you're in the airplane. I don't remember if we were in C-130s or not. I don't remember what we were in. But like they have two doors going out both sides, and so like you're going and jumping out in the static line, and so like you're supposed to go every other. But then I guess like the jump masters were just throwing us out the plane.
Let's go.
Yeah, and so me and him jumped out at the exact same time. Our chute, we had like a hard pull.
Oh.
And it pulled both of us underneath the airplane. He drop kicked me in the air. That's what I remember. Like we're in the air, like we're under canopy, like going down, and I'm like looking around, like what was that? I just hit something. What was that? I was like, that was me.
Oh, that's so good. That is so good.
Yeah, we still laugh about that, but
oh my god, yeah.
That was so just good. One of those. And I mean, you watch guys like and under canopy, like so. If you get like, I mean, everyone's just jumping out, and you can't control those canopies. And so like you had like one guy get like underneath another or on top of another, and they steal the air. And so we would literally watch guys like parachute would collapse, and hit this guy, go underneath, open back up. This guy's would collapse, and it was just like, yeah. We saw a guy get his biceps ripped out open because if you get your arms caught around the static lines, he was a tactical weatherman with the Air Force.
A tactical weatherman? Is that what he wants you to say, or is that the actual name of it?
I can't remember exactly. It's not even it. So I don't know if you've like heard Air Force has like a new rating called Recon or something like that. It's like their special operations.
Okay, so I'll give the PJs credit. PJs are legit.
Oh, for sure. So these guys, like the tactical weathermen, so their job was they go in before everyone else and call weather conditions for airstrikes. These dudes are like they're bad dudes. Like they can sneak into basically anywhere.
So okay. So they can do some long range recon, I guess, is what they'd have to.
Sure. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't know these guys were a thing. Yeah.
There was very few of them, and that's like it was like I think he was the only one
almost our old Ford observers, if you will. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they like rolled it into something new. It's a new pipeline. I think they've only had around for like 2 years.
Oh wow!
I've heard it's actually supposed to be really cool. Like it's supposed to be the cooler of the special operations right now.
Interesting. Yeah.
Like in what their mission is and tasks and stuff. But yeah. So left airborne, went out to Camp Pendleton. We have a follow-on course called TACMED. No. I don't know. It's like the school you actually go through. Like it's like the Marine Corps school. Like so we go through. It's we learn the Marine Corps tactics and Marine Corps all that stuff.
So did you get to go up to like combat town and all that stuff as well?
We did.
Okay. Yep.
We did. So we had. I can't remember what it was called. It was like some.
So at this point, you're not with the Marines though. You're still separated, correct?
No, our instructors are all Marines, but it's all corpsmen.
Okay. Okay.
I cannot remember what that thing was called, but yeah. So it's what is it called? It's like the last evolution, like something X.
TAC X.
Something like I can't remember. Whatever. It's like our last evolution. It's like where we like go and do like a invade. Never. It's like war games and stuff.
Yeah. So it depends on the era too. Yeah. So you spend a half of the actually back then it was a third of the time that you spend on if you will offense, a third of the time on defense, and a third of the time observing. And you get to observe and watch from like a bird's eye, if you will. It was. I mean, you had to learn how to what team movements were, whether you were in a fire team, a squad, patrolling, nonverbal communications. You had a little bit of SEER mixed in to a certain extent, to where most guys have already probably been to SEER before that, but you had a little bit. Hey, if you get captured, you better Finex. That's what it was.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, if you have to learn a little bit about if you get captured, what everything is, and so once again, this is 30 years ago for me. So it's probably what it is. It's probably a lot. It's probably a little bit better. Back then they just wanted to know that you had heart, that you wouldn't quit, and that you were somewhat tough. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They can teach you the rest, but you can't teach heart, and you can't teach basically guts, And it's so weird because I remember I remember going through a lot of these different schools and all of that. I'm like 5'8", my wife said I'm 5'7.5", but I'm going to claim 5'8", And at the time I was probably like 145, 150 and all of that. Got down to about 125 after a couple schools, you lose 25 pounds at some of these schools very easily. But anyways, and I always noticed that like we had some big guys, but like when we worked with the SEALs, like the SEALs for us, they always seemed like they were just big guys. I don't know if the SEALs just like the 6'3", 6'4", 220-pound brutes. If you looked at a lot of the Marine units that were out there, smaller, 5'10", or so, maybe athletic, faster, and all of that. And I didn't understand back in the day that everyone has like what they're looking for. Obviously there's gonna be some bigger guys that are just badasses. But I didn't really notice at the time until later on. I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense now. So I don't know. It was just weird, kind of going down. Sorry, we're going down the road here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the average operator is like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, people think they're all like 6'3", 6'4", and that you got to be agile. You got to be quick.
And you also like you won't make it through any of the selection courses big. Like you get big after you get
not unless you are just a freak, right? Like there's a couple guys that are freaks.
Or wrestlers.
Yeah. But usually wrestlers aren't tall though. Maybe they're a lot of them are smaller and just quicker and strong. But yeah. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I was going to tell you like at the FinX, you asked about like the town and all that stuff. We got pulled aside because they knew we were in the pipeline, and we were doing some like forward observing type stuff, and there's so much miscommunication that happened during all that. I ended up sleeping through the town at that.
Really?
Like, they came back and they're like, "Why did you miss the town?" Like yelling at me. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like all the guys were like, "How did you not know we were leaving? Like your entire like group left." I was like, "I have no idea.
I was out. I'm sorry.
I was out.
It happens.
How you guys left me behind, but
yes,
we got done with that. I remember a graduation from that in intervals. So like after we got done with Airborne, we actually checked in at MARSOC. And we were on hold at MARSOC, so we weren't like a part of MARSOC by any stretch of the imagination. And so we basically just got hazed the whole time, which again was like a phenomenal experience. I mean, like we had guys who were like, we had like SARCs that would come in and would like take us on a 10-mile run at like an 8-minute pace, 7-minute paces. And like, you're just dying. You're just doing that all day, which like got us super prepped. And then they'd like tell us to go like train at the pool, and we'd go to the pool and like try and drown each other, which helped so much whenever we got to recon or BRC.
So people don't understand. They see videos now. There's some of the videos out there, drown proofing and all of that, and they don't realize it's all about rhythm. And if you get into a good rhythm and don't freak out, but a lot of people, we had a guy in our platoon that was a college swimmer at Ball State, and this guy was a fish, dude, a fish. And then we had guys that could barely swim. But if you can literally keep your composure and get into a rhythm, especially in drown proofing, and you're just going up and down and up and down, that's the one thing that people freak out the most at, and that I saw. And you have to understand, like, you might, like, they're not trying to kill you. Like, they're not going to let you die. They've got corpsmen, they've got medics, they've got medical attention there. You might black out, but they're going to get you back. Like they're not trying to kill you. It's training, and I think that's the one thing that I was always good, whether it was at boot camp and all the way through different things. In my mind, I always told myself, they're not going to kill me. Like they're not trying to kill me. So as bad as it gets, just plug through, And I think that's kind of the mentality you have to have, especially when you're running 10 miles at a 7-mile pace. Fantastic. Yeah.
You think you're going to die the entire time.
Oh, yeah. And you probably were close to it at certain points, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. And that was at Pendleton, and we were running down the roads. I mean,
I cannot
remember the areas at Pendleton, but wherever the Marsoc compound used to be. I mean,
Mhm.
you'd run straight up that road down, and it's just like it was like the old tank trails.
Yep.
And it got so hot on that road. But I was a better runner. I was a phenomenal runner.
Do
Up
they
until
still have you wearing
BRC.
the tan short shorts?
Oh yeah,
I didn't know
UDT.
if I didn't know if that was
Still
still a
have those.
thing.
Oh yeah,
Really? That's incredible. That's
yeah,
crazy. I did not know.
yeah. You don't get your silkies until you graduate.
Great day.
Oh yeah. No, and
I got a
so
quick question before we
yeah,
move on because I do want to ask you this because this is one of the things you were talking about buds earlier. And like I said, I got some guys that are team guys, friends that are team guys, and they said during buds the hardest thing in the world wasn't what you would think. He said it was the rash that you got, and it was the most painful. Like, and there was nothing you could do about it. Like, there was no way to prevent it. There was no way to make it better because you were just constantly wet, constantly in the sand. Um, is it as bad as people think? I mean, when you think of the rash, I know it hurts, but I mean, they were saying like it bled and it was bad. Do you remember those days?
I do. So I didn't have it as much at Buds because Hell Week is where those guys normally get that.
Yeah, yeah,
And I didn't make it to Hell Week. And I mean, I saw a lot of the guys that were coming back from that, and like some of it was just really bad. But like we
yeah,
also got it at BRC in second phase or
yeah.
Amphib. And yeah, I mean that sand gets in everywhere. Like to this day, I hate going to the beach.
Yep.
Like sand was everywhere, and and once it started, it just did not stop because then it starts to swell up, then it gets even closer to it, and then it's more contact points.
It's miserable.
It was miserable. I hate
Yeah.
sand with all my heart and soul.
You know, it's so funny when we moved from Okinawa, is where I did a lot of my stuff, and over to Pendleton with First Rig. They my now wife had moved over here, and we were at Pendleton for about 3 years, and I think we went to the beach like twice in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I had no desire like whatsoever. I think we went 3 times, and 2 of them was because there's a place called Dog Beach down there south of Pendleton, and was it what was that place? Below Carlsbad, not El Cajon. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
they had Dog Beach. It was a public beach that you could bring your dogs on, and so we took our dog down there a couple times, but we didn't go to the beach. Like, people's like, how could you live like a mile from the beach in San Diego and not go to the beach?
We have a shore house like where we are, and like I have a 2-year-old. He's turned 2.5. And like I like to going out there with him and letting him play in the beach,
Yeah.
but like that's about it. Like I'm like I don't want to sit down. I don't want to play in the water. I just want to watch him play and then go in.
Yeah. We've been talking. We can talk this for the next 3 hours. What we need to do is start talking about Mitchell Defense. So you do the Corbin thing. You're with Marsoc. You're with Recon Pipeline and all these guys. You transition into civilian world. And we talked a little earlier about some of the things you had in your mind. Did you know that you wanted to start up your own company the whole time, or how did Mitchell Defense come from transitioning out of active duty?
So always had a passion for guns, even like growing up. And my last duty station was in San Antonio at Corps School.
Okay.
And so while I was there, I was able to take like college courses. And so working on like getting like a business degree, which a lot of my military experience translated over, which is awesome. I got my bachelor's in 2 years.
Oh, nice.
Which is wonderful. Great school too. Is University Incarnate Word down in San Antonio.
I lived in San Antonio for a couple of years. Yeah, when I got out, we moved down there. Yeah, great school.
The business school out there was phenomenal. The teachers were top notch. I learned so much from them. But my family had a pipe inspection business out in West Texas. So like getting out is kind of like a no brainer to go work out there. Like that's a great place to go transition, work at a job you can get. Not as lucky as most people getting out of the military are not as lucky. I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to begin. getting out and not having like that connection.
Yeah.
And I mean, you see it happen all the time. Like guys get out and they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm like, ooh, man.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah. And so, so got my degree. Then I went out to West Texas. And me and my brother ended up buying my dad out of that company. And so me and my brother were running it. And that was like my first intro to like, so I had my business degree. And so then you got to go translate that directly into operating a business, which was awesome. And then while I was out there, I was able to work on my master's degree.
Nice.
And so while working on my master's degree, and since I still had the GI Bill left over and it was paying for everything, which was phenomenal. But I was able to take like master's lessons, but so my master's was in energy business. That was the best place to get that degree. I think there's only like 4 schools in the whole country that have that certificate. And that
West Texas would be a good place to have that school. You know?
Oh yeah. I mean, 70% of the country's oil comes from West Texas.
Right.
But we had access to like CEOs and CFOs of oil companies who would come in and like it would teach us hedging from like guys who were like hedging on the daily. I mean, it was a phenomenal lesson, but then you got to talk to like these guys that are in high levels and you start to realize that like no one really knows what they're doing in business. We're all kind of like, there's just educated guesses.
That's fair.
And I mean, I can't tell you how many meetings I sat in with Chevron and Exxon and like with these guys, you're just like, you're in charge of the procurements for the entire like Permian Basin. And like, you've never even been on an oil rig. Like,
that's crazy.
Oh yeah, no, it was nuts. But to how that actually translates into the firearms business. So we did pipe inspection. So our job was to inspect pipe that was going back downhole, like down into the oil wells, to see if it still had like wall thickness, like all this stuff. And so you do a lot of like, it's like EMI, magnetic testing, different tests to determine it, like hydrostatic testing. But we had all these giant machines that, in the military and military medicine, you learn like the whole body approach. Like you understand how the body actually works. And that's how you know how to fix it. We don't just learn, put a chest seal here, tourniquet here. Like you have an understanding of how the body operates so you can diagnose faster. So I took that same approach to our equipment. And it directly translates like, hey, we keep having failures at a certain point. Like, why are we having those failures and how do we improve them where we can have longer uptime? And the oil field is like a proving ground for coatings and machine work. I mean, over the last like 20 years in the oil field, the technology has just advanced so fast. And as far as like longevity of machine works and you're talking about the most, like everyone talks about like the firearms, like, oh, we have a background in aerospace. It's like the oil field is more applicable to firearms than aerospace is. Aerospace is precision machining. Oil field is how do you keep something running in the dirtiest environments possible. Yeah, so a lot of like coatings and different machine
that does translate. Yeah, that does translate.
No, it directly. And there's a lot of gun stuff out in West Texas. So I started Mitchell Defense. So it was actually a master's project.
Really?
They told us to start a company, and so I had a bunch of guys who were engineers, and we were like, "Hey, let's start let's design a new armor-piercing round for the government." And so that's originally, and I had the facilities and stuff to put all the machinery in, went SHOT Show, found all the stuff. Well, I started the company in I think it was like February of 2019. I ended up selling my part of Mitchell Pipe, our pipe inspection business, in July. So we lost the facilities, all that fun stuff. So it kind of went back to the drawing board on that.
Yeah.
Ended up opening up a restaurant in the Virgin Islands. We bought a bunch of condos down in the Virgin Islands. I had a boat down in the Virgin Islands that ended up sinking.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I kind of took off on the entrepreneurial spirit after that. And the whole time I'm trying to find a spot in the firearm space, because that's where I wanted to be. People always say like, do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I took that to heart and then realized that you do what you love and start a business and you'll work every day of your life. But and so just trying to find a spot. Carbon fiber barrels started coming out. So we started doing some of the stuff with that, and it's just kind of word of mouth and just trying to figure out how to make a platform that really fits into the market.
Yeah. So right now you've got several rifles out there and pistols. You've got some long range stuff. Where do you want to start with? I'll pull it up here. What was the first rifle that you guys came out with?
So I call it Gen Zero. We don't. It's not even. I don't. It's not even listed anymore.
Yeah.
We had a lot of issues with it. Well, not a lot of issues. We had a lot of. We started having issues with our machine shop partners with them, and so the Gen 2, or Gen 3, or Gen 2 Magpul magazines wouldn't feed into them. So that project all kind of got scrapped. We went right back to the drawing board. And then we had our Gen 1s, and then now we're on to our Gen 2 lower receivers. I mean, we can start with the dock line. If you want to go to...
Yeah. You can go to GWAT, or...
If you scroll up, go to firearms.
Yeah.
Well, no, but don't click on firearms. I know the website's getting redesigned.
Oh, I got you. Go to the dock. There we go. Yep. There we go.
Yeah. Okay. So what we did, or what I did whenever I designed these rifles is you have precision billet lowers, precision billet uppers, and where that actually matters to your rifle. And so we have a proprietary buffer system. It's all manufacturing techniques that I learned in the oil field. Our bolt carrier groups are precision ground, and they're also coated in a coating called Armor Lube, which also learned about in the oil field, which most people don't realize. Armor Lube is actually now the new mil spec coating. It's no longer phosphate. Yep, as of November of 2022.
Wow.
Yep, and then there's. Have you guys ever heard of thermal fitting?
Yeah.
So we thermal fit all of our barrels to our uppers, and that's another thing that they use that a lot in the oil field. Very few companies utilize it in the firearm space. I don't really know why, but
there's a few that I have met over the last year or two that are doing it or are trying to start doing it. And I guess it's a pretty extensive process. And I think that's maybe why a lot of people aren't doing it. But that's pretty cool that y'all are doing that.
Yeah, it's hard to get right, and that's what like a lot of companies like try and mass produce it, and you start to fail with it because you can stress your metal too much. Like too tight of a fit's a problem, and too loose of a fit's a problem. Where's I going with all this? Oh, but so we figured out how to protect. I mean, we have a high reject rate on our uppers, but with our upper receivers, like the barrel seat where it goes into. Is it's flat. So what it does for you is your barrel is locked into your upper receiver in an extremely tight connection, but then your barrel is also perfectly flat on your upper receiver. So your bolt carrier group, and when it comes to like accuracy, the bolt is actually giving even pressure on all parts of the bottom of the round, and so you're having even pressure pushing off. So you're all the pressure and everything. There's no pressure leakage, all that fun stuff. And then.
You guys are boasting a half MOA. That's
oh yeah,
that's a pretty strong boast right out of the box, man.
Oh yeah, so the dock rifles,
love it.
The 16-inch ones. I mean, those things will for sure hit half MOA. 14.5, which I don't think is on the website yet, that hits half MOA. We advertise it as, I mean, most of the rifles that say sub MOA, like on their spec sheets, because most people can't shoot half MOA.
Just because it says half MOA, guys, doesn't mean that you need to be sending emails to Nathan and his guys if you're sitting 2 MOA. Sometimes it's just the trigger man, it's just the way it is.
Oh, and then in some ammo, like I mean, you could put it in the best rifles and it's not going to shoot MOA. I mean, there's a lot that goes into a half MOA. All that fun stuff.
I'm looking at this real quick. The Triad the 300 Blackout. That's a pretty cool, interesting. Are those like kind of an A2 front? Is that a front sight kind of a thing? Is that what that is? I can't really see that.
Scalar Works fixed sights. The rifles used to all come with them, but
how about that?
People didn't like them.
That's pretty cool.
We went away from that, but yeah, those are that's Scalar Works fixed sights on that. That guy, I don't know how much you know about like barrel twist and stuff and what that does on a rifle. So that's actually a 7.5-inch barrel, and it shoots at a 1 in 5 twist. So it's super fast on a super fast
Interesting.
twist. Yeah, so like twist rate matters. It stabilizes heavier bullets, but like so 300 blackout's designed to be shot subsonic out of a short barrel. And so the faster you spin it, the more energy you have on target. Because like when a bullet hits a target, it has to stop two ways. It has to stop going forward and it has to stop spinning. You can only control the forward so much with a short barrel rifle. And so how do you get more energy on target? You spin it faster. Spin it too fast, it'll mushroom too soon if you should, and so on and so forth. So 1 in 5 on a 300 blackout's like the perfect twist rate on a short barrel.
On a short barrel, yeah. I can't remember who it was. This is years and years ago, and I think I was talking with someone at Faxon when they were doing they were big into the 300 blackout barrels back in the day. It's like 2019, maybe 2018, 2019. And they were saying that through their testing, the optimal barrel length is like 10.2
for a 300 blackout.
For a 300 blackout. And I don't know why, maybe with their twists and all that, twist rates and all that. But yeah, it was interesting because I've always seen them a little bit shorter than 10 inches, like that 7 to 9 inches. And they always say the optimal, maybe ballistically, the optimal barrel length is 10.2. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys, what do you think about the science of the 10-inch barrel versus a 7-inch barrel or 7.5 inch?
You're getting a whole lot more muzzle velocity. And I think you're still spinning it at a 1 in 7 though, out of a 10-inch barrel. So 10-inch barrels, for a 300 blackout, anything shorter than that, I think is like 10 and under is like 300 blackout range. Anything longer than that, I don't think makes any sense for that round.
No.
And so I think you're just like at a 10-inch barrel, it's probably the max velocity you should be getting out of a rifle.
But here's the thing, like so many people are going to shoot subsonic, so they don't necessarily like want maximum energy out of the barrel. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't want maximum velocity because they're going to be shooting. I mean, a lot of the people that I know that shoot 300 blackout religiously are all going, subsonic suppressed, that hog hunting or whatever. So yeah, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the 7.5, we're going to release it in the 3 or our 10.3 and our shorty dock.
Yeah. Okay.
At some point, but that's the only 300 blackout we even offer right now, just because that's the way it's supposed to.
So the shorty dock right now is the 5.56. Oh, you got the quad rail on there.
Yeah, so
nice.
Got the good nostalgia in there. So we have the quad rail. We also have one in M-Lock as well.
I'm a quad rail. I'm a fan of quad rails.
The ones I run, all quad rails. Like for any of the trainings and stuff, just because my hands fit right in a quad rail, and just all the room for activities.
Putting this out there, we do have a question for Sykes out there. He says, "You guys are selling SBRs. Do you guys help in any way with the paperwork to get the tax stamp?"
We don't help with the paperwork part of it, so we sell it, send it off to your local FFL, and your local FFL. It takes care of all that stuff. And we haven't met an FFL yet that I didn't think was qualified to answer any questions. And most people can do fingerprints and photos in-house nowadays.
Yeah.
We don't sell anything so you can buy it straight from the website, but when you buy it on the website, it goes to, we have to ship it off.
They're gonna ask you what your FFL that you wanted to send it to.
Yeah. So the shorty dock we actually just released. The shorty dock is a lot of our law enforcement guys are running those guys. And that's kind of been their favorite.
That's sharp. I love that.
No, and it's built to be functional. So things you'll notice on these rifles, they have ambi charging, ambi safety selectors, and then we have an ambi bolt release. There is not an ambi bolt catch because there's so many moving parts to it. They're built to be tactical rifles. So we build our rifles with the end user in mind of military and law enforcement.
Yeah.
And then we also don't do mag releases for a very, very important reason I've seen so many guys running in kit and drop mags out of it with an ambi mag release.
Absolutely.
And that's why I get that question all the time. They're like, well, this is a $2,000 rifle. It should be full ambi. It's like, yeah, but you don't actually need full ambi. Like it's also detrimental to what the purpose of it is.
If you're going to run it slung with a kit, there's a lot of things. Real quick, G23, he knows, unfortunately, like for super chats, I tell everyone I will read what you put on there. So I will literally be a Ron Burgundy, and he knows that I hate 40 Smith. So every time it's he $20 super chat, he says 40 Smith and King is king. And let's remember the men and women who are downrange and won't be home with their families. Absolutely. And I don't feel bad for saying 40 Smith is king in that scenario, although it is a lie. But thank you, G23. I appreciate you very much. Yeah. Reversible mag release. I think he just went over that mandatory carry. Not going to be an ambi mag release. Sykes says, how does the rifle compare to the Daniel Defense Mark 18? I knew this was going to come. It is what it is. It is what it is.
NRA 2023. I had a guy verbally assault me about Daniel Defense rifles. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So one thing I will tell you, I hate doing comparisons, but I will answer that question because I love answering it.
Sure, go for it.
So what we do with our buffer system is we utilize it's flat wire spring technology. It's a little bit different. So compared to a carbine spring, like a regular carbine spring that starts to wear out after about 6,000 rounds, our springs get about 500,000 rounds before they start to lose their springiness. It also increases your forward pressure of the bolt carrier group by about 30%. And so what that's doing is pushing that bolt carrier group through all that dirt when it's going in there. Our bolt carrier groups also have near zero friction to them. That on top of the coating that we use, which is Cerakote E-Series, has near zero friction to it. So inside that upper receiver, you have near zero friction, and these bolt carrier groups are a precision ground to an exact tolerance. So every single one is going to have, the skids are going to have an even pressure throughout the entire time. So like I said, so what that's going to be doing is going to be giving more forward pressure pushing through dirt, but dirt has a harder time connecting to the inside of the bar, connecting to the bolt carrier group and the upper receiver. So you're going to have less dirt inside your system. And then with the precision ground, or not precision ground, the thermal fit, you're going to have a more accurate rifle. So we're getting sub MOA accuracy out of our 10-3 rifles, our shorties. So that's not a comparison, but try getting all those things out of your Daniel Defense Mark 18.
I think that how do I put this? I have nothing against Daniel Defense. I think they're fine weapon systems. I think where they are at this point is they have created this facade that because they have been one of the few companies that are generally acceptable to spend high dollar amounts, that just means that they are just better than everything that's out there. And the grass is not always greener on the other side. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah. I will also say our rifles are designed and built by people who have used rifles for a job.
That's correct. Yes.
So Daniel Defense was probably top of the and
it's still a phenomenal weapon system. It's great.
If you're going to, I mean, I was still, if you had an option between a Daniel Defense or something else, I would still grab a Daniel Defense. I would grab a Mitchell Defense before I grab a Daniel Defense, but still great rifles. I mean, and some of the stuff they do, they do a great job of building a consistently a good rifle.
Yeah, no, and what they do well. Okay, let's just be honest. But I think that everyone hears the name Daniel Defense and think that they're at the top of this, the tip of the spear. And to be honest with you, you can go spend $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for ARs. That $2,500 to $3,000 AR, 10 years ago was, oh my gosh, that's a top. No, there's a whole nother tier out there that are really exotic ARs, but like the Daniel Defense is not a tip of the spear. They're very, very good. They're very, very consistently good. but they are not the only ones out there that are able to do what they do. So yeah, Syke says, so I need to table the Daniel defense and get one of these. 100%. That's exactly what he's saying.
Yeah,
I think he just said that Daniel defense is something that if he didn't have a Mitchell, he'd probably be able to go grab a Daniel defense and be very happy with it. So I don't think anyone's saying anything bad about Daniel defense. The difference is what you're hearing about are some of the materials and some of the coatings and some of the designs of these rifle systems. Like Nathan said, from someone that's actually had to use one. And so you're talking about a design that's more functional, and maybe for someone that's going to be doing law enforcement, military, people like to do CQB, people like to train, people that maybe shoot 3 guns. These are the kind of people that are probably going to be looking at these weapon systems. But, also keep in mind that when you have someone like Nathan and his guys that are designing these rifles and these weapon systems with a specific task or specific background in mind, that's a tried and true background. He knows exactly what's going to work and what's not going to work under stressful situations, under different weather conditions. You don't know how bad a rifle can get until you get some sand in it. And I don't care how expensive your rifle system is. If you get sand in it, all bets are off. And what you think might run great won't. And what you think is a piece of trash might run phenomenal when it gets dirty. And you have to be able to understand whether it's coatings or lubrications or whatever. You got to make sure that you understand, guys, that you need to trust someone that's been there and done that, has been in the sandbox and knows what weapon systems are going to run with those scenarios. So no one's ever saying anything about Daniel Defense or anything bad or anything like that. All we're trying to do here is bring Nathan on. He's got a phenomenal little company that's going on. I've been hearing about it for a while, and then some friends of mine, Todd over at Valiant, and then obviously Ron over at Riker are good. Ron's a brother of mine that he's one of my dearest friends. And I keep hearing about Mitchell Defense. I said, I know that name from somewhere. Like, why do I know that name? And so I sent a text to Ron. I was like, why do I know Mitchell Defense? He says, dude, I got to introduce you to Nathan and all that. So we brought Nathan on. And so we talked about the Doc series a little bit. Obviously, it comes with the 16-inch. You've got the SBR series.
And then the SOIDC Doc comes with a carbon fiber barrel. That's the top
where
right.
Is that one?
Top right.
Here it is. Yeah, here we go.
$3,000 one. So
let's talk about this real quick. Yeah.
So what's interesting about this, so like, and on the Doc line, everything behind the barrel nut, so your lower receiver, upper receiver, it's all the exact same. The only thing that's different in pretty much all of them is the forward part, which is your handguard and your at different lengths of handguard, and then your barrel materials. We actually just had a guy who ran this in an independent test. He's supposed to be putting an article out at some point in time. So he ran it to 17,554 rounds without cleaning or lube and had 0 failure.
Holy cow.
And that's like where like you start talking about stuff. It's like, all right, some of these like the coatings, and that's like where all this shines. Like your buffer system, your coatings, your bolt carrier groups,
the buffer, the barrel, without cleaning it. I mean, how the rifling inside the barrel holding up for that long is, with the heat, the pressure going through that barrel without being clean, that's impressive. 17,000 rounds.
Oh yeah, no. He called me. He only had it for like 6 months, and he called me like, "Hey man, I had a failure." I was like, "Oh no!" Like, how many rounds did you put through it? And he's like 17,554. And I was like,
"Wait, what?"
Okay, go clean it. Like,
yeah,
that sounds like it worked.
I want to know who his ammo hookup is, or does he reload?
He owns a pretty prominent gun writer company.
Because you're my God, 17,000 rounds in 6 months. That's a lot of trigger time, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. So like my standard is testing him out to 10,000. So it's really cool to see someone run it past that.
Yeah.
And that's like accuracy, durability, and reliability are built into every one of the rifles. And so you don't have to compromise on accuracy to get durability and reliability. Anyone who tells you differently is wrong. But yeah, so with the average AR companies, you're gonna
get rid of one of those three. I mean, let's just be honest.
Oh yeah, you are, and I think every or most companies will sacrifice one of those for whatever reason.
Sure.
And every weapon system is built for a specific purpose. And that's where you can. It's a hard argument. But yeah, so this one right here is the SOIDC. I mean, this is a true half MOA. We had a guy recently shoot 0.3 MOA out of this.
Wow.
Stupid accurate. This rifle is designed more for like your competition shooters. I would never say take this thing into like combat. I mean, there's reasons you would. You would like that's kind of who this was designed for.
Yeah,
carbon fiber is a pretty neat technology, especially with barrel materials.
Yeah, I got into the PRS game a couple years ago, and it's so funny that the carbon fiber barrel thing it's a big deal in long range precision shooting now. It's not just for the weight, but for the durability, the stability. But yeah, who would have thunk that carbon fiber barrels, 10 years ago would take over almost,
Oh yeah, no, it's like, and it's not really all about. It's like, so the accuracy of like the stainless steel barrel. I mean, you can cut the rifling just like near perfect on that. But with the carbon fiber, like the thing that you're getting is repeatable accuracy, and that's that. And it's like if you need repeatable accuracy, that's the barrel material to go with, because that stays stiffer over longer periods of time.
Before we move on to one of the different models, G23 out there, is he going to build? He's obviously an AK guy, which is great. I love AKs too. But are you going to build an AK and not a bastardized AK?
I'm not going to build an AK.
There you go.
That is funny that I do get that question quite a bit, but Klishnikov did a great job when he designed the rifle.
Yep. You can go buy them from Century and buy all the AKs that you want. And I love an AK. I tell people all the time, shooting an AK, especially full auto, over the 3-round burst M16A2, which is what I ran. I was prior to the M4. That's how old I am, Nathan, by the way. But the full auto AK, I love shooting more than the 16. Now that said, I love the 3-round burst of the 16A2. I think a 3-round burst was one of the best decisions they ever went with, because talking about a controlled fire group, it's really, I love a 3-round burst. But if you've never shot a true AK in full auto, people, that needs to be a bucket list. It's one of the most fun things you'll ever do is shooting a full auto AK. So that needs to be on someone's bucket list for sure.
Oh yeah, shooting full auto AKs is just fun. I mean, there's something primal about it. I don't know what it is.
There is. Yeah, it is. Sykes says, I caught the ass into the 17,000 rounds. What parts of any needed changing after that? Basically, it just needed to be cleaned. Basically.
Yeah, and we do have, and the gas rings are probably the one thing that, I mean, I would think would wear out fast. But we do we put a different coating on our gas rings. It's not just raw metal. So our gas rings last about like 3 or 4 times longer than like the standard ones do. So I, from my knowledge, which I haven't gotten to talk to him too much in depth about it, he didn't change out any parts, just kind of wiped it down, cleaned it a little bit, and he's been running it ever since. That's
awesome. Do you want to go with the pipe hitter or the rat dog?
Do the rat dog.
Do the rat dog. This is one that I get excited about, that I've been looking at. Let's kind of go over some of the specs before we start talking a little bit about each individual model, but the overall specs. Solid piece BCG. Dedicated PCC upper, which is nice. It's not like you're just throwing a 9mm barrel into an AR, which some companies are doing. It's a whole different upper,
Oh yeah, there's no forward assist or any of that kind of stuff on it either. So
well, not just that, but we're talking about, people don't understand it. A PCC buffer spring, and all of that. It's if you try to run a 9mm with your 223 buffer and buffer spring, bad things might happen.
Oh no, bad things will happen. I had a meeting Monday actually. We had one of the ranges called up and said, "Hey," and had the ammo company on the phone too, and said, "Hey, we need to talk. Like this gun or round like blew up and got shrapnel in my hand."
Yeah.
I was like, "All right, let's look at it." And the first thing I did is open it up, and it had a carbine buffer spring and a carbine buffer in it. And I was like, "That's your problem." Yeah.
Yep. That's just the way it is. People, hey, I love PCCs, love them. But yeah, they're a different animal. So let's look at you got the slick rat, you got the street legal rat, the tactical rat. I love it. I love it. First of all, who names them?
So the rat dog was one. So we got the doc. That was easy because that's like our bread and butter. I mean, that's the background. So the rat dog is one of my buddies who's Sark. His nickname was the rat dog.
Nice.
And he got the rat dog because it didn't matter how much you're in the suck. Like he just thrived. Like it seemed like the worse it got, the better he got it. Like loving it. And we were talking one day. This is actually the same guy who would drop kick me out of the at Airborne. We were just talking one day, and he was like, "You can call it the rat dog if you want." And I was like, I mean, I'm not going to call it a rat dog, but and I was like, and I started thinking about it. I was like, why? All right, why did we give you that name, or why did you get that name? And he told us, and then and it just kind of clicked to me. I'm like, this describes this weapon system perfectly. Being a direct blowback system, all that dirt and debris is getting back inside that upper. And with most PCCs, I actually don't know of any that, but I haven't ran a test on a whole lot of them. Like about 1,000 rounds in, you start to get like problems with them because they get so dirty. I mean, we ran this thing suppressed at CanCon for 4,000 rounds and didn't have one issue to it.
And I love the MP5 style handguard. I'm a big MP5 guy. Probably my favorite weapon system ever. But just anyone that tries to pay homage to the MP5 in any way possible, I'm a fan of. So yeah, good job.
I love that handguard too. So that's the way I like to run it because like it's a PCC. I'm not going to run it all kitted out. But with the angles that are on the top of the handguard, it's at a 45-degree angle. So like you can lay your thumb perfectly on that. And so when you're driving out, it's like almost like a pistol when you're driving out. It's the same thing.
Right
you're driving to a certain point.
I love that.
I don't know. I have fun running that. And then we throw the tri-lug on it, which is preferred. The only way you should run a PCC is with the tri-lug.
Let's go over to
same thing with the buffer system on these guys. We have our proprietary springs that are in there, along with like our 9mm buffers in there. These things just keep ticking away. If you don't know what a tri-lug is,
sorry, go ahead.
So one thing that the AR market needs in the 5.56 is a universal mount for a suppressor, but that's what tri-lug is. So the HK3 lug is what came on the MP5s. And every suppressor company that makes a 9mm suppressor has an adapter for a tri-lug. And all it does is just goes on there and you click it and it snaps in there. You're good to go. And so you can have multiple different types of suppressors with one muzzle device.
Absolutely. Let's see here. You got the slick, you got the street legal. This is more of looks like to me more of like the 16-inch PCC. Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
A lot of USPSA, right? USPSA.
I would imagine USPSA. Yeah. I would imagine a lot of 3-gun guys maybe do that, but USPSA, maybe even IDPA that are running the PCC divisions now. For sure, I got a couple of buddies that run the PCC divisions, and that's a pretty good looking one right there. What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite of the PCC line?
Oh, the PCC, the tactical. Or so I like to shoot the slick rat dog, but like the tactical rat dog is my favorite. And it's probably the most popular one.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
It looks cool.
It does.
Yeah, no, that thing is, and they're fun. So, and we also have like I don't know if you guys know the American trigger, American something trigger, something company. I can't remember.
What now?
It's like it's called the AR Gold trigger. I think it's called American Trigger is the name of the company. But it has
that flat trigger, yeah,
that flat trigger. And they make it curved, but it has an insanely short reset to it.
Nice.
And there's a couple of things like on a PCC that you should always look for in your PCCs. So the trigger needs to be designed for a PCC because you will snap trigger pins.
That is correct.
There are some popular PCCs out there that use Geisley triggers. Geisley specifically says on their website and in their manuals that this voids your warranty on your trigger if you use this. So just pay attention to what triggers in your guns. And then like the bolt carrier group, all that stuff, and being solid piece. Like there's a lot of it's hard to break these things, and PCCs will break things quickly.
Yeah, I on not all. I would say all but one actually that I can think of. I'm looking at several over on the wall, but I think all but one. I usually run my PCCs. I usually run CMC triggers. They're a Texas company. And they actually have a trigger specifically for it's called a PCC trigger, or I'm not sure what it's called now, but originally it was called the PCC trigger. And so yeah, that's the one thing that people don't. Once again, buffer tubes, buffer springs, buffer systems, and triggers, they are not necessarily go from an AR-15 to a PCC and work okay. So I like the fact that y'all are, and I love the flat trigger because the great thing about the flat trigger. Was one, they're phenomenal. I love them. But if you like the curved, they have a little boot that you can. I don't know what this company does, but you can find on a lot of companies will also have the little boot that has just a little bit of curve in it that if you like the curve side of it. But when it get the operations and the good stuff of the flat trigger as well. I don't know what company. I can't remember what company said this was, but probably haven't. Trigger. Okay, yeah, so I'll have a look at that. But that's good looking. That's a really, really, really good looking PCC right there. What's the what's the barrel length on that? Is that like a 5?
8.3.
Oh, 8.3. Well, it looks shorter than that.
Yeah, it's so. I wouldn't get any shorter than that because you start losing hand space. And that's what I didn't. That's why we stuck with 8.3 and we didn't go any shorter than that.
Yeah. I think my shortest one I've got is a 5.5, and I love it for what it is.
The pipe hitters and the docks all come with curved Geisley SSA triggers.
Okay.
This is the only one that comes with the flat trigger, just because we ran the flat triggers at a bunch of events and people just loved them more.
Yeah.
And these guys, we're having a difficult time getting this into a law enforcement market.
Really?
Yeah, and this is also the only single stage trigger that we offer, is in these.
I'm surprised that you're having tough times getting into law enforcement. This is exactly what I would want in the law enforcement realm.
9mm just have a bad rep, and
I love them,
but yet they rock them in their pistols.
Yeah,
and
I love them.
Glock mags. I mean, most police officers are running Glock 45s, and so being able to transfer out your magazines from your rifle to your pistol. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't want that. You don't have over penetration, kind of. I mean, 9mm will go through more layers of sheetrock than a 5.56 will, but 9mm will also stop in a body more than what a 5.56 will.
Correct.
Especially ball ammo. And so, we're talking to some resource officers at schools, trying to talk them into it. Some SWAT teams. Yeah, it's been a harder sell than I was expecting.
Have you guys in your testing? I'm sure you have. What about some defensive ammo? You guys run it through this, and how's it run with defensive ammo?
It runs great. So one thing that we had to do with the barrels, with the feed lip in there, which is very different than like your standard AR-15 feed lips, we had to expand it out a little bit to feed home defense ammo more reliable. So you start thinking about these things and you start thinking about ARs. We want home defense. And that was something that it was like a requirement. I didn't want to do a PCC. It was actually the last thing on my list.
Really? Interesting.
It was just one of those things. It was it's extremely difficult to make a reliable PCC, and most companies don't do it the right way. And it was just something that, and then I kind of started playing with it like here and there, trying to find different ways of doing stuff and some little things. And once I shot this thing for the first time, like doing testing, it brought a smile to my face, and I was like, okay, I got it. This is it.
Yep. Sykes other says I'm going to make them spend money if I keep showing. Well, we haven't even finished. The rat dog is my favorite, but the next thing that I want to show, my next favorite, I love a good AR. Don't get me wrong, but I am a big fan of the pipe hitter, and this is just a bad bitch right here.
These things
let's talk about the pipe hitter, man. You got 308 6.5, and I'm glad to see you have the 8.6 block.
I fell in love with that cartridge.
What's that?
I fell in love with that cartridge.
It's a great one, isn't it?
It is. So when it comes to like actually innovative stuff in this industry, there's not a whole lot of it. When this first came out and I started reading about it and like reading the thought processes and stuff, I was just like completely mind blown. I was like, this is what we needed. Like,
yep.
I don't have a whole lot of use cases except for bear hunting and hunting in Africa, but like the way that they designed this round and the thought process behind it is just super unique to me. It's just a cool round too.
It is. It's a really cool, ballistically a really cool performing round. And there is a couple niches that specifically, but it can do whatever you want it to be. You can patrol with this. You can patrol with this and be great with it. All sorts. I mean, yeah, it's a great cartridge. So let's talk about the pipe hitter. And I've got the 8.6 up. Are there is there differences between the 308 and the 6.5 and the 8.6 as far as specs? Do I need to go through all three of them, or do we just keep this one on the picture, or what? What would you like me to do?
I mean, same thing with the pipe hitter line. Everything from the barrel nut back is the exact same. The only thing that's different is the barrel and the handguard with all these.
Right.
The use cases are extremely different though. So like your 308,
absolutely, yeah.
Like this is a carbon fiber 20-inch barrel. We have our 18-inch barrels in stainless steel, a 14.5 and a 12-inch 308 coming out. And then the 6.5 Creedmoor, we're going to have an 18-inch stainless steel as well as the carbon fiber. Those haven't been released yet.
Yeah.
They're in the works. No, so the 308, I mean, these are your big boy cartridges, your AR-10 platform.
Yep.
I mean, these things are absolute tack drivers. You take that thermal fitting, the rounds that are precision rounds, and you can just reach out and touch stuff.
Yeah, that's gorgeous right there. I love that.
It's funny going over to these though and doing testing because it's a bigger cartridge, and so there's just a lot more. It's louder, and it's just always interesting. But I mean, the same meticulous attention to detail goes into these guys that you see in all the dock and the PCC.
Yep. Let's go over to the 6.5 real quick, and then we'll go over to the 8.6 SBR, which is a cool looking one. But here it's basically the same rifle. It's just 6.5 Creed.
Yep.
And this is going to be more of a competition, probably.
Yeah, competition, long range shooting. I mean, there's a couple of like marksman units and stuff that are interested in like carbon fiber. I mean, it makes sense in the dock line, the 5.56, but it makes more sense in this. I mean, these are true precision rifles.
Absolutely.
Which is actually interesting is I've sold more precision rifles in our 12-inch 308 than I have in the 20-inch carbon fiber.
Really?
Yeah. I was very against doing a short barrel 308. And we had a department that wanted a 12-inch 308 for shooting out of helicopters. And I was like, cool, I'll do it.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So this is the proper way to run the 8.6 blackout in a 12-inch barrel.
This is just sexy as hell.
I'm not entirely sure who knows about the 8.6 blackout, but it's the big brother to the 300 blackout. Same concept, a 338 projectile out of a neck down 308 cartridge. It's a 1-in-3 twist in the barrel. So, I mean, the things are spinning super fast, super expensive ammo. Even my test ammo was $3 a round.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're looking at that $4 to $5 a round, like you are 338 Lapua and all of that. That's just the way it's going to be. But
And so
maybe maybe guys, get this. It might give you a reason to start reloading. Just saying.
yeah, there you go. And so these guys are designed to be shot out of a short barrel rifle, suppressed, and with subsonic ammo. Proving grounds for this was in Africa. I mean, they're dropping wildebeest in one round. If you
Really?
if you ever get a chance to look at the gel test on these guys, 8.6 blackout, the cavitation is just absolutely massive because that round is spinning so fast, and that's such a heavy bullet. When it hits, it just
Oh yeah.
And we're doing a couple of tests down in Alaska with these for bear rifles for like bear protection because like a lot of those guys carry bolt rifles. And so one of the tests we're going to be doing. I don't honestly have no idea where we're going to do it, but we're going to get like a sled going downhill with the ballistic gel in it, and we're going to see how many times we can hit it with these going down a hill versus a bolt rifle going down a hill.
Well, I mean, even a very skilled bolt, a guy that can run a bolt fast, you're not going to be able to mess with a good gas gun.
No, and like when the way we design these things and the way the parts and everything work, the rifles are designed to shoot extremely flat, and that's extremely important for faster follow-up shots.
Yeah.
And so whenever you shoot it, your optic stays on target the entire time, so you can that second round is going to go not going to go up in the air versus it's going to go towards your enemy. Or
Sykes is saying that 12-inch 308 would be a badass for CQB. Yeah, it would. I don't know if you want a 308 inside of a house though. That could be
thinking about that.
Yeah, that could be brutal. Talking about some eardrums being blasted up. Man, I didn't realize we'd gone an hour and a half. Holy cow. Do we want anything else we want to look at real quick that you want to talk about before we start kind of letting people know where they can find you and all that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing that the big push for the year is we're trying to build out the dealer network.
Okay.
And in order to build out a dealer network, you really need the customers that drive that innovation. Dealers won't pick up products that aren't being requested in their dealers. I see it all the time. People will go and look for a dealer near them. And they're like, oh, I can't find it anywhere near me. Like, just go in and ask them for it.
Yeah.
They can contact us. We have a great dealer program. That's kind of one thing.
I know it's so funny. We were talking before we went live and all that, but shot coming up in the next month, and you realized you guys have been so busy the last short while that you didn't realize until it was almost too late that you almost didn't have rifles to take the SHOT Show because people have been buying. That's a good problem to have, I guess, huh?
I know it is. I mean, as slow as the industry has been, just super slow. I know we were talking about this before, but like during the summer, and then now I have like no inventory. I've got a bunch of rat dogs, so if anybody wants a rat dog, they're ready to ship, ready to go.
I'm gonna get me a rat dog for sure.
Yeah,
I love those things.
And so like the docks, so we had a run on them last week. I think I have like one left.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Which that's like I'm looking at that. It's just like, all right, well, production wise, like, am I going to have any more coming in? It's
what's been your I mean, obviously the dock, I guess, is the best seller. Is that probably, or is the pipe hitter doing pretty good too, or?
So the pipe hitter is just expensive, so we don't really actually see a whole lot, and that's where we're getting into like some of the cheaper ones with like the stainless steel barrels and stuff.
Yeah,
not having the carbon fiber. We've sold a bunch of the docks. 70% of my market is law enforcement and government organizations.
Yeah,
and that's who they're buying all of those things. Civilian wise, it's probably half and half with dock and rat dog.
Okay.
And we actually have one of our dealers that's local that has a rat dog on their rental fleet, and they have sold a bunch of the rat dogs.
I bet they have. Yeah, that's actually a great idea. If you do one of the rentals and people actually get their hands on it and shoot it, that's a great way to push some product right there. So where can people, obviously mitchelldefense.com, the links will be in the description here after the show and all of that. You can reach them on social media. You got Facebook, Instagram, YouTube channels, anything else, if they have any questions, where can they just send you guys? Is there an email that they need to find if they have any questions about the products, or where can they find those answers?
Yep. So you can reach out on our social media. It's just Mitchell. I think it's Mitchell __ defense on Instagram.
Send a DM or something.
It just send us a DM. You support at mitchelldefense.com. You can also do the contact us. I answer most of those questions. So,
Life grand.
Well, I mean, like, so customer service is kind of like one of the things that we are known for. Like, if you send us a contact us, I'm probably going to call you. Like, I'm not going to just like let it sit for 3 days. I'm going to call you and be like, hey, how can I answer your questions?
Right.
And that's like, I mean, we kind of rotate the phone somewhat. I answer the phone most of the time too, just because like most people who are calling are looking for me anyway.
Right.
Yeah, but so customer service is kind of like a top of the line thing. I know, like, we're not like some of the other companies where you get a 1-800 number and you can't actually talk to anyone who can answer your questions.
Yeah,
that's where I'm trying. I like that to be different and forefront for us. So reach out.
Yeah,
I love talking
absolutely.
to people.
Yeah, and I know you got some stuff coming down the pipeline for next year. Like you said, you're working on some different materials with barrels. You're working with maybe some different designs and all that. I'll be seeing you next month for sure at SHOT. Maybe looking forward to talking more about some of that stuff like that. But guys, if you're interested, mitchelldefense.com. Like I said, they're all over the social medias as well. If you need to get a hold of them, support at mitchelldefense.com or just DM them through Instagram. And Nathan or someone on his team will get you there. Real quick, I go through our pony polls. We do polls every year and every week. And if you have time for a few seconds, we got 3 polls this week. The first one, you're a little young. You might remember, but you're younger than I am for sure. But if you had to choose one, Knight Rider or Magnum PI?
Oh, Knight Rider.
Now, is it because of the car?
It's definitely because of the car. The technology.
Awesome.
It's just a technology thing. Like, I drive a Tesla because I think they're cool. Like the technology behind them. So the idea of kit is just neat.
Syke says, what if someone doesn't like to talk on the phone and that is why they can contact a company online? Like I said, send them a DM on Instagram, and you know what? If your phone rings after you send a DM and you don't want to answer it, then don't answer it and talk to the DM, my man.
If you don't answer the phone whenever I call, I will send you an email. So
there you go.
But that is a great point. People probably reach out on the online because they don't want to talk on the phone. Never thought about it that way.
This is true too. 1.2 thousand votes. These are our pony polls. Brought to you by our good friends over at Anderson Manufacturing. 1.2 thousand votes. Magnum PI with 53% of the vote. 53%. You're talking about 2 great cars. You got Kit and you had the Ferrari. So, which, I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Our next one, 1.4 thousand votes. Who's a better band, Zeppelin or the Stones? Are you a Zeppelin guy? Of those two, Zeppelin or Stones? That's a tough one.
That is a tough one. I'm going to have to go with Zeppelin.
Yeah, I agree. Of those two, I'm a Beatles guy. And it's kind of one of those, if you're a Beatles guy, you maybe respect the Stones, but you don't really like the Stones. But Zeppelin's on a whole nother level in my eyes. So, little Jimmy Page, Robert Plant, ironically, have you seen on YouTube when they got the Kennedy Center honors and Hart did Stairway to Heaven? You need to go look on YouTube sometime and just put Stairway to Heaven Hart with Mary Wilson. You're welcome. Okay. It's like Robert Plant's crying during the performance. Like, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to hear Hart. Mary Wilson singing Stairway. You're welcome.
It's a great song too.
It is a great song. 1.4 thousand votes. 72% of the audience is correct that said Zeppelin. Zeppelin is the better band. And our last one, 1.5 thousand votes. We're talking rifle sights here. We're going to say for like an AR, if you will, if you're going to put one on the dock. Are you more of a holographic sight like an EOTech or like an open reflex sight guy?
Oh, holographic.
Of the two.
EOTech.
Yeah.
There's scientific reasons for that, but yeah.
Yeah. The great thing about the EOTechs is if the front glass gets broken, you can still run that sumbitch. So
yeah, and you don't have as much in your eye fatigue. I don't think I know one person that runs an EOTech that isn't faster.
Oh, 100%. And you know what the funny thing is I have come to love the circle dot. And that's simply because of the EOTech. Now I try to find options that might have a circle dot reticle available, and that's what I go to now. It is really, my eye loves a circle dot now. Go figure.
Yeah. Well, and so do you know like the differences between the two?
Of what?
So like the hollows versus like an aim point or something, or like a red dot.
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so the like holographic sights, the way your eye sees the actual the reticle, it sees it at the target. And with a regular red dot, like Trigicon or something,
off the mirror and all of that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so your eye sees it at the optic, and so your eye's constantly going back and forth at a regular red dot, but in a holographic sight, your eye's seeing it at the target. So like long courses of fire, your eyes aren't getting as stressed and as tired.
Absolutely.
And you can pick it up faster.
Yep. Faux show. 1.5 thousand votes. 77% were correct that picked the holographic sights. So those are our pony polls. Go check out our good friends over at AndersonManufacturing.com. Thanks to our buddy Kyle out there. Not only is he a good friend, but he's a Marine as well. He was just out there. He's saying Kit. He likes Kit. For Knight Rider, I get it. Chase, our buddy with EAAs out there. So what's up, YouTube? Everybody, which be better, Burris or Vortex for long range? So it's inside joke. But yeah, Chase is our buddy over at EAA, European American Armory.
Hey, shooting long range at 50 yards. That's something.
There's a creator that I think just got his first rifle in the last month, and one of the first videos he put out there was shooting at 50 yards, and it's like, Now, I understand there are some people that are restricted by the ranges they have available to them. I understand that. 50 yards. Come on, man. Go find someone's property. At least go out to 200 or 300, at least 100, right, to zero it.
Yeah,
200 at least.
Long range or precision. I mean, you have to get out. Your bullets don't even really stabilize until
exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Pony Kyle, my buddy over at Anderson. We are trying to grassroots system to get the Pony Express #Pony Express 2024. Trying to get Anderson to come up with a coach gun, a double-barreled coach gun, called the Pony Express. But cool. The actually owner of Anderson has actually heard of our hashtag we've been putting all over social media. It started as a joke. Came into Kyle's office, like, so explain to me what the hell is Pony Express everyone's talking about. So come on, guys, get out there and keep getting Anderson. We want Anderson to make the Pony Express. Nathan, I want to thank you for coming in. Obviously, we'll see you in about a month, almost to the day. Yeah. Well, it's the 20th. I land on the 20th, which is shots range days Monday. We get there on Saturday, get kind of acclimatized. Got some stuff to do on Sunday. I'm actually going to Hell's Kitchen Sunday night. First time in 3 years I've been able to get a reservation at the restaurant. So we've been waiting a long time to do that. Yeah. So anyways, thanks for coming on. Real quick, anything that we left out that you want to hit on? Any closing thoughts or statements for Mitchell Defense? Go for it.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so many things we didn't hit on, but
we're gonna have you back on for sure.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, no,
I just didn't want to. I didn't want to keep you on for a 3-hour podcast. I figured you're probably getting tired already.
I could sit here for a 3-hour podcast and talk about anything. No, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys at SHOT Show. We've got a few things coming out. Be releasing the bolt carrier group pretty soon. Maybe parting out our buffer system as well. Bunch of different things we're going to be giving out. So if you guys are at SHOT Show or watch the channel, I'm sure you're going to have some of the stuff on there. So.
Oh yeah. We'll come in and we're going to do a booth video for you guys and bring it to the audience and see what's coming down the line. Are you going to be at range day?
I am.
Fantastic. Is a booth, or are you just going to be there shooting, pulling triggers?
No, we're going to be there at we had a booth. We're doing a booth, and we have a booth at SHOT Show down in the basement.
I knew you got a bit of shot. I didn't know if you're going to be at range day.
Yeah, no, we're going to be at range day.
All right, so
we're pushing
we'll be there.
Dealers and distributors this year, and that was kind of turned into a requirement. We also got a lot of third party or foreign companies or countries that are wanting to do demos that we're not flying out there to do them, so they're coming to the range day as well.
Yeah, G23 keeps saying it didn't Tesla get recalled. I don't know. I don't drive.
It did. It's a software update.
Oh, so it's nothing. Nothing bad.
They pushed a software update 3 days before they released it. That there was a recall. It's
okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. We'll definitely see you. Definitely see you at range day. Obviously, at SHOT as well. Probably hook up. A bunch of us are going to maybe try to go get some dinner one night, and I know I'm waiting to see if Ron shows up. He's still trying to think about showing up. I know Todd's not going to be able to make it, but Ron's trying to figure out if he's going to make it or not.
I'm basically making Ron go.
I mean, he needs to, right? Like
he already has a pass.
And he's going to have some of his stuff's going to be in your booth, right?
Well,
so I mean, he needs to go.
Range day. It's like, man, like I'd go or throw your grips on all of our rifles at range day. I mean, like, hey, this is a no-brainer. You have to come. We've got buddies that live over in that area. I mean, lodging's not going to have to be cost you anything.
I told him was it last week? I told him, and I talked to him about going, and he was like, I'm busy. He doesn't like SHOT. I get it. I do too. But bro, like, especially if you're going to have access to the range day with you guys being there, it only makes sense for him to show up.
Yeah, he's going to show up. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I'll call Josh.
So anyways, we'll figure it out. We'll go grab a bite. Maybe I know that we might have to drag you to the Marine party. Probably know some of those guys. So
I'm down.
Let's do it. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you check out Mitchell Defense. We're going to have Nathan back on after SHOT Show and talk about some of the newer stuff coming down the line. We could have talked for hours and hours. We were both already really tired before this evening even started. It's been an interesting month. December usually is, but thanks for watching, guys. If you're watching this in replay, especially we get most of the traffic through the podcast form. Hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Like I said, we do invite you to come join the live chat. We do appreciate all the podcast listeners out there. You guys are pretty awesome, and keep it going. Get to the range, guys. Be more proficient with your firearms. Stay in tune to all the 2A legislation, both local, state, federal. Make sure that your elected representatives are doing their jobs, and if not, guess what? 2024 is an election year. We probably get them out and find some people that actually are going to have your same ideas and values, if you will. More importantly, guys, get out to the range, enjoy your freedoms of being American, one of which is to keep and bear arms. We'll see you soon. Semper Fi.